Hello all, myself Dr. Vartya Jagan, working as Associate Professor in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, BBIT. So in this lecture, I am going to explain about the phase control rectifier, which is a three-phase line commutated converter. So this was the content. Right. In the last few lectures, we were discussing about basics of a rectifier. Then we have gone through single phase line commutated converter. We have seen the single phase half wave converter circuits and its operation. We have seen single phase full wave control converter. Also, we have gone through the half control, which is also called a semi-controlled converter. Right, with different types of load, R load, RL load, RLE load. So in this section, we are going to discuss about three-phase line commutated converter. Right, these three-phase line commutated converter can be a three pulse control rectifier, 6 pulse control rectifier, 12 pulse control rectifier. So in this lecture, I am going to explain about three-phase 3 pulse controlled converter. Before going to discuss about 3 pulse controlled converter, first let us have some observation on single phase controlled converter. Right, if you refer my previous lecture videos, you will find the discussion on this single phase controlled converter. So here in all the single phase converter, each SCR may conduct for a duration of 180 degrees. Because if you recall the single phase supply, so this is what the single phase supply. Right. So in case of half wave converter, if you consider, we are going to control and convert only either positive half cycle or the negative half cycle, but not both. Right. But so that your conduction of SCR may be 180 degrees. It may conduct for a duration of 180 degrees. Right. Similarly, if you consider the full wave controlled converter, where we are going to control and convert both positive half cycle as well as negative half cycle. Right. Here also, if you consider single phase midpoint type configuration, first T1 will control and convert only positive half cycle and it may conduct for a duration of 180 degrees. And similarly, first T2 may conduct for a duration of 180 degrees. And if you consider fully controlled converter, where we are using 4 thyristor to form the bridge type of fully controlled converter, there we are using T1, T2, T3, T4. So we have seen that T1, T3 are triggered at the same time to control and convert the positive half cycle, and T2 and T4 are triggered at the same time to control and convert the negative half cycle. So which means these devices, the pair of these devices may conduct for a duration of again 120 degrees. So which means 360 duration here at one cycle means 360 degrees can be controlled by uh, 2 pair of devices, so which may conduct for a duration of 180 degrees. That is what the meaning of this one. Right. Now we will go for here. So therefore, the range of firing angle may be from 0 degrees to 180 degrees. Okay, so in case of RL load and RLE load, for half wave controlled converter and fully controlled converter, the average output voltage may be positive or it may be negative also. That depends upon the firing angle alpha. So if you recall the previous video where the alpha, if alpha varies between 0 degrees and 90 degrees, you will get positive voltage across the load. So to get negative voltage across the load, alpha is varied from 90 degrees to 180 degrees. That is what we have seen in the previous lecture video. Right. So you can, there is a possibility that you can also get negative output voltage, average negative output voltage when alpha is more than 180 degrees. sorry, 90 degrees. So for any load, in case of half controlled converter, the average output voltage is always positive with respect to the firing angle. Firing angle can be 0 to 180 degrees, but the average output voltage is always positive. That is, you can cross check with my previous video, right? So we have seen the comparison for this half wave, half controlled converter and fully controlled converter. And I can see in case of single phase half wave converter, the output voltage waveform consists of only one pulse for one complete input cycle. Right? I can show you once again here. So here you can see with the help of single phase half wave converter, either you can control and convert this positive half cycle or negative half cycle, but not both. That means for a complete one cycle, it consists of only one pulse at the output side. So it is called single phase one pulse rectifier. But in case of single phase full wave converter, you can see one more pulse here where this negative half cycle is converted into positive half cycle and it is controllable, which means the output pulses consist of two pulses in one cycle. So it is called a single phase two pulse rectifier. It is also called as single phase two pulse rectifier, right? And therefore, the pulse frequency is two times the supply frequency. And you can see one, you can remember one more thing here, right? In case of single phase converter, which may be half wave, full wave, semi-controlled converter, the firing angle is measured from the reference point, and the reference point is at omega t equals 0, right? So it is always measured from the reference point where the omega t equals 0, right? So this is some observation about a single phase controlled converter. Now we'll go for three phase converter. Okay, so these are the configuration in case of three phase converter, right? So here I am going to focus on single phase, three phase half wave converter, right? Where we are going to control and convert only half of the complete cycle, right? So let us go for the circuit configuration. Before going to the circuit configuration, let us see what are the drawbacks of the single phase controlled converter. Now you can just now we have seen that in case of two pulse single phase two pulse converter, if this is the input voltage, the output voltage may be controllable from this point onward, and you may get this portion. That means this is what our ripple in the output voltage. This is what the ripple in the output voltage, and this ripple, uh, in order to get minimum ripple, we need to place a smoothing reactor at the output side so that you may get constant DC voltage, almost constant DC voltage. And if you place a smoothing reactor, means it is a combination of inductor and capacitor, and which will increase the cost of the system. And so that in order to avoid the smoothing reactor, right, if you increase the number of pulses in the output cycle, then you can get almost constant output voltage. That is possible with the help of three phase controlled converter. So before going to discuss about three phase controlled converter, let us have the vector diagram, right? You can see the vector diagram. This is what the reference point, and the R phase voltage, this R phase voltage is leading this reference voltage by some 30 degrees, let us say. And since there are three phases, so if you see the Y phase voltage is lagging behind the R phase voltage by 120 degrees. Similarly, if you see B phase voltage, it is lagging behind the R phase voltage by 240 degrees. Here you can see, right? So in other words, you can say the B phase voltage is leading the R phase voltage by 120 degrees, right? That means there is a phase displacement of 120 degrees between any two phases, right? Let us consider the R phase first. You can see here. Now I am considering R phase voltage, which is equal to Vm sin omega t. It is the reference voltage. So it has to start from omega t equals 0 onwards. So you can see this portion. It is vary with respect to sin omega t, and at omega t equals 0, omega t equals 360, 180, omega t equals 360 degrees, the voltage is becoming 0. And you can see omega t equal 90 degrees will get maximum plus V max. At omega t equal to 270 will get minus V max, right? So this is how the VR may vary. Now I can see here Y phase voltage is lagging the R phase voltage by 120 degrees. Now you can see here you may have 60 degrees, here you may have 120 degrees, and here it is 120 degrees, here 180 degrees. So Vy voltage is lagging the uh, R phase voltage by 120 degrees. You can see here. So it is starting from 120 degrees onwards. So if you measure here, it omega t equal to 120 degrees. That is why I have written here Vm sin omega t plus 120 degrees, which means the Y phase voltage is lagging the R phase voltage by 120 degrees, right? Similarly, if we see the B phase voltage, which has to lag the R phase voltage by 240 degrees. Here you may find the 240 degrees, right? Now, if you see here, this is what the B means blue, R means red, Y means here I have drawn with block color, right? So you can see B phase voltage is lagging the R phase voltage, which is the reference voltage, by exactly 240 degrees. So that is why I have written here VB equal to Vm sin omega t plus 240 degrees. So this is the waveform that you may see at the input side of the power electronic converter. Now let us see. Now here you can see, you can observe one more point here. So in case of half wave rectifier, in case of in case of single phase, half wave, full wave, and semi-controlled converter at alpha equal to 0, omega t equal to 0. At alpha equal to 0 means omega t equal to 0. But that is not the case here in case of three-phase converter. Now you can see at this particular point, these points are called crossover points. These are called crossover points. So here, after this point onwards, the R phase voltage is more positive when compared to any other phases, right? Which means from this point onwards, thyristor T1 will be in forward bias condition. I will tell you why I am calling it as thyristor T1, because thyristor T1 is uh, controlling the R phase voltage, right? Similarly, from this point onwards, the Y phase voltage more positive when compared to any other phases. So thyristor T2 will be in forward bias condition during this interval up to this point. Similarly, from here to here, you can see the B phase voltage more positive when compared to any other phase voltages. So you can use the device T3, which is in forward bias condition during this interval, to control the positive voltage across the load. So now you can see the crossover points are this one. So now alpha is measured from this point onwards, because here from this point onward, the thyristor which is associated with this phase voltage will be in forward bias condition, right? So again, if you recall the single phase, you can see this is a single phase waveform, right? So this is positive waveform, and a negative waveform you can draw like this, right? So here it is crossing the uh, VR and VR minus, right? So it is called crossover point. And here in case of three phase, you can say these are the crossover point, and the alpha is measured from these points onwards, right? Now here you can see that you can make a note here. In case of uh, three-phase converter, which is three-phase half-wave converter, the firing angle alpha is measured from the crossover point. Here it is a crossover point. At this crossover point, if you project on the x-axis, here we will get omega t, which is 30 degrees. So at omega t equal 30, the alpha will be 0 degrees, right? So now we will discuss on the three-phase half wave control rectifier. So this is the circuit configuration. Now you can see the primary of this transformer, it is connected in delta, and second is connected in the form of star. I don't want to explain the advantage of this delta star connection. If you want more information about this delta star connection transformer, you please go through any standard textbook, machine textbook you can go through, right? So now you can see here we are going to provide three-phase supply with 50 Hz frequency in Indian standard frequency, right? And it is connected to the secondary side like this, and across the secondary side we are going to connect the power electronic converter. So this is what our power converter if you remove this load. So, and this is converting the AC at the input side of this converter to a DC across the load, right? Now we'll see how we are going to convert AC into DC with the help of this three-phase supply, right? And these are the expected waveforms, right? So these are the expected waveforms. Now you can see, and just now I have shown you the how we have drawn the R phase voltage, Y phase voltage, and B phase voltage, right? These are the three phase voltages. Now these voltages you can see at the secondary side of the transformer, VR, VY, and VB, right? Now if you see the waveforms, I will mark with some different colors so that you can easily identify. I will mark with blue color. Right now you can see from this point where omega t equal to 30 degrees to here, if you find omega t will be um, 120 degrees, 150 degrees. So in between, if you compare 150 minus 30, it will be 120 degrees. So during this 120 degrees, T1 will be in forward bias condition. You can turn on T1 because T1 is associated with the R phase. Again, here to here, if you find, you can see it is again 120 degrees, right? And during this interval, Y phase voltage is more, and Y phase thyristor is thyristor T2. So during this interval, thyristor T2 will be in forward bias condition. Again, if you see from here to here, the B phase voltage is more positive with respect to any other phase voltages. So thyristor T3, which is associated with this B phase voltage, can be triggered. Right. Now we'll see. Okay. Now let us. Now just I told you that during mode one means omega t equal 32, omega t equal to 150 degrees for 120 degrees duration. I told you that if, R phase voltage is more positive when compared to the any other phases. So thyristor T1 will be in forward bias condition. And T2 and T3, they are in reverse bias condition. I can replace them with the open circuit. Now you can see the equivalent circuit like this, where T2 and T3, they are in open circuit condition, right? And I can trigger thyristor T1 by applying firing pulse at the gate terminal, right? So I have applied triggering pulse to T1 at the crossover point, and you know at crossover point alpha equal to 0 degrees. So at 0 degrees, I have given triggering pulse to T1, and T1 will conduct, right? And this R phase voltage is more positive from this point onwards. So the output current always leaves from positive terminal. So it is leaving from R positive, T1 anode, T1 cathode, load resistance, and back to the neutral point. So here at this particular point, the current is entering. So I have considered as a positive point terminal. So I can say from this point onward, the output voltage following the input voltage. So now you can see it is following the input voltage. Here you can see the output side, right? Again, at this particular point, it will conduct for a duration of 120 degrees. Why? Because to control and convert a 360 degrees interval, so to complete one 360 degrees one cycle, we are using three thyristors. So 360 divided by 3 means each thyristor has to conduct for a duration of 120 degrees. That is why thyristor T1 is conducting for a duration of 120 degrees. Similarly, if you see at this particular point, the crossover point, at which again the alpha equals 0 with respect to this point. But if you measure with respect to this point, alpha will be 120 degrees. Alpha will be 120 degrees, right? At which the omega t equal to 150 degrees, right? So from this point onward, the output voltage has to follow the input voltage, right? So that is about mode 2. Let us go for the equivalent circuit. And during 150 degrees to 270 degrees, 150 degrees to 270 degrees, here you can see the mode 2 comes into picture. And during this interval, uh, Y phase voltage is more positive and Y phase thyristor is thyristor T2, right? That will be in forward bias condition. Now you can see T2 is in forward bias condition, whereas T1, T3 they are in reverse bias condition. Now I can trigger T2 at any instant of time from omega T equal to 150 to 270 degrees. So I need to get symmetrical output waveform. So I have given triggering pulse to T2 at alpha equals 0 again. So which is T2 is replaced by short circuit and it is at higher potential. The current has to leave from Y positive, T2 anode, T2 cathode and neutral point. Again it is entering at this particular point. So you will get the only positive half cycle like this. Again, now when it comes to the other mode, here from here to here, you can see at which the omega t will be 270 degrees, and if you project on the x-axis here, it will be 390 degrees. During this interval, the B phase voltage is more positive when compared to any other phases. So I can trigger T3 at any instant of time. So I have applied triggering pulse to T3 at this particular point where you can see alpha equals 0 again. So you can see the B phase voltage is more positive and the current always leaves from positive terminal B positive, T3 anode, T3 cathode, right? Again, it is entering to neutral point through this positive terminal. So it is entering at the positive terminal. So you can say, again, you will get positive voltage. So this is how you can control and convert the positive half cycles only, right? So now this is at alpha equals 0. And since you can see with the green color mark is for output current waveform. You can see here the output voltage wave shape and current wave shape both are same because due to the resistive load in the circuit, right? So the output voltage and the output current, they are in phase here, you can see, right? Now let us go for at alpha equal to some 30 degrees. Now here at this particular point alpha equal to 0 degrees, where you can find the omega t equal to 30 degrees. Now my question is that if alpha equal 30 degrees, omega t should be 60 degrees because there is a relation between omega t and alpha. So omega t, you can say here in case of half wave, it is alpha plus 30 degrees, right? If alpha equals 0, omega t will be 30. If alpha is 30, omega t will be 60. So here you can see alpha at alpha equal to 30 degrees or omega t will be 60. You can see here at this particular point. So if I trigger T1, which is in forward bias condition at this particular point, the output voltage following the input voltage and it will conduct for a duration of 120 degrees. That is why I said you in the last slide, right? And the current which is in phase with the output voltage because it is a resistive load. Again, if I trigger T2, which is in forward bias condition at alpha equal to 30 degrees, the output voltage will follow the input voltage like this, and the current which is in phase with the voltage. Similarly, you can trigger thyristor T3 at this particular point where again alpha equal 30 degrees, and you can see the output current which is in phase with the output voltage, right? So now this is at alpha equals 30 degrees. Now if I go for alpha equals 60 degrees, now at alpha equals 60 degrees, this will be 60, omega t will be 90 degrees. So your output voltage will start from omega t equal 90 degrees onward. Here you can see. So here from this point on, the output voltage following the input voltage, no doubt. Here you can see this is what at omega t equal to pi 180 degrees. Here you can see at omega t equal to, here it is 180 degrees, where just after this point onward, we are going to expect the negative voltage to the thyristor T1. So this is what you may expect, right? But due to resistance in the load, the current and the voltage, they should be in phase. They has to be in phase. So here at this particular point, the net current which is flowing to the thyristor T1 is becoming 0, or it may fall below the holding current. The thyristor T1 may goes to off at this particular point. It may goes to off at this particular point. Similarly, again, if you trigger the thyristor T2, which is in forward biased condition to omega T equal to, alpha equals 60 degrees, from this point around, the output voltage follows the input voltage, right? And before that point, there is no current, so you won't get any voltage, right? And now, since due to presence of the resistance in the load, the output current should be in phase with the output voltage. So again, you can see at this particular point, just after this point, you can see you are going to expect the negative voltage across the load, right? And one more point, you can see at this particular point, the current which is flowing through the thyristor T2, which is in conduction state, may goes to 0, or it may fall below the holding current. So T2 will also goes to off condition from this point onward. Similarly, if you trigger after this particular point, there is no current, so there is no voltage. You can see 0 voltage, 0 current here. Again, to get one more cycle in the output side, we are going to trigger T3, which is in forward bias condition at alpha equal 60 degrees. So from this point on, the output voltage follow the input voltage. Again, the current is also following the output voltage. So here you can see T3 will goes to off condition naturally. So you can see all the rectifiers, they use natural competition techniques. So now you can see here during the short interval, you can see 0 current and 0 voltage through the load and across the load, right? Therefore, it is called discontinuous conduction mode whenever the alpha exceeds 30 degrees, right? And when the alpha is less than 30 degrees, you may get a continuous current in the output, right? So now, depending upon the firing angle variation, the converter may operate in continuous conduction mode and discontinuous conduction mode, right? So there are two modes of operation here. You can see when alpha is less than 30, discontinuous continuous conduction mode. More than 30, it is continuous conduction mode, right? Now, let us derive the average output voltage. First, we'll focus on the continuous conduction mode, where your alpha may lie between 0 to 30 degrees. These two waveforms, which shows the continuous conduction operation. So now you can see to complete one cycle, you will see 3 pulses at the output side. This is for 120 degrees, 120 degrees, and 120 degrees. So you can see for 360 degrees, 360 degrees duration, which is means one cycle, we are going to expect 3 pulses at the output side. So that is why to calculate the output voltage for 2 pi interval, we are going to see 3 pulses, 2 pi by 3, right? And alpha integration from alpha to 30 to alpha plus 150 degrees. Here you can say alpha to 30 to alpha plus 150, we are going to see some voltage across the node. Now let us substitute alpha equal to 0 here. Alpha equals 0, it will start from omega t equal 30 to omega t equal 150 degrees. This waveform will be achieved, right? If you substitute alpha equals 60, 30, 30 plus 30, 60 to 180 degrees, you may get the output voltage. This is from this one, right? So it is from 60 to 180 degrees, right? So now I can write integration from alpha plus 32, alpha plus 150, which is varying with respect to sine Vm sine omega t. Do the integration, which is minus cos omega t, and it just substitute upper limit and lower limit. It is just like cos a plus b, and here it is also cos a plus b. You can write it, right? And you do the trigonometry, and you will get the average output voltage as 3 root 3 by 2 pi into Vm cos alpha. Now here alpha is the firing angle. It can be varied from 0 to 30 degrees continuous conduction. Depending upon this firing angle, you will get the variation in the average output voltage. Right now, if you substitute alpha equal to 0 degrees here, you will get the maximum output voltage, which is 3 root 3 Vm by 2 pi. Right. So if you know the voltage, you can calculate the current also. Voltage divided by resistance will the current. Right. Similarly, you can derive the RMS output voltage. Now I have just taken the root Mean matlab 1 by 2 pi by 3 integration from alpha plus 30 to alpha plus 150 degrees. We are getting some voltage across the load. VM square omega t, and you can write, you can take VM square out of the root, so root square will get cancelled. So you can write VM under root 1 by 2 pi by 3, and sin square omega t you can write it as 1 minus cos 2 omega t by 2. You separate these terms and do the integration and substitute the upper and lower limit. You will get the RMS output voltage expression this much. So if you know the RMS output voltage, you can calculate RMS output current also just by dividing this voltage by the load resistance R. Right? Let us go for discontinuous conduction mode. And discontinuous will start just after omega t equals 30 degrees onward. Omega t equals 60 degrees onward, which means alpha, if alpha is more than 30 and it should be less than 150 degrees, then I can say it is in discontinuous conduction mode. Right, now I can derive the average output voltage. So to derive that, we just consider this portion. Now if you consider this portion, the output voltage you may get up to this point, which is 180 degrees, right? And alpha can be, should be more than 30 degrees, right? So here alpha is 60 degrees, right? If you substitute alpha equals 60 here, in 90 to 180 degrees, right? And alpha you can substitute a 45 also, you can substitute as 35 also. So 1 by 2 pi by 3 integration from alpha to 30, alpha plus 30 to 180 degrees, you can get the output voltage Vm sin omega t. So this is for discontinuous conduction mode, right? Do the integration, take the Vm as common, and you just substitute upper limit or lower limit, you will get the average output voltage as this much, which is 3 Vm by 2 pi 1 plus cos alpha plus 30 degrees. Now you can calculate the current voltage also, current also, right? So this is about three-phase half wave converter in discontinuous mode. Now we are going for the uh, RMS output voltage. Now again you take the integration root, mean matlab 1 by 2 pi by 3, and the integration from alpha plus 30 to 1 by 80 degrees, Vm square sin square omega t d omega t. Sin square omega t you can write it as 1 minus cos 2 omega t by 2. You just separate these terms and do the integration, substitute the upper and lower limit, you will get the expression for RMS output voltage this much, right? So this is about the continuous conduction and discontinuous conduction mode of three-phase half-wave controlled converter with resistive load. Right, now we'll go for one more load called RL load. Now the load is replaced with resistive and inductive load. Again, you know, from omega t equal to 30 to 150 degrees, our phase voltage is more positive when compared to any other phases. So this voltage will be at more potential, higher potential than any other phase voltages. So T1 will be in forward bias condition, right? Again, from omega t equal to 150 to 270 degrees, Y phase voltage more when compared to any other phases. So thyristor T2, which is associated with Y phase, will be in the forward bias condition. So you can make use of thyristor T2 to control and convert this waveform. Similarly, from omega t equal 270 to 390 degrees, during this interval, B phase voltage more when compared to any other phases. So we can trigger the thyristor which is associated with B phase. So to control over this waveform, right? So remember the load is a RL load now. The same thing you can see here in this case. So during mode 1, when omega t lies between 30 and 150, T1 it is in forward bias condition, T2, T3 they are in reverse bias condition, they are replaced by open circuit. Now you can see where T2 and T3 they are in open circuit condition. Now to get control over the output voltage, I have taken T1 at alpha equals 0. So you will get the output voltage wave shape like this, right? Since the load is a resistive and inductive load, RL load, the current has to lag the output voltage waveform by some angle. Thereafter, it will charge the inductor and it will discharge here. right? Now, during mode 2, so Vy is more positive when compared to any other phases. So I can trigger Vy at any instant of time during this interval, omega t equal to 150 to 270 degrees, right? So T1, T2 is in forward bias condition, whereas T3 and T1 they are in reverse bias condition. That is why T3 and T1 they are in off state. So that is that T2 is triggered at again alpha equal to 0 degrees. So you will get this portion which will follow the output voltage, and due to presence of inductors in the load, the current will lag the voltage by some angle. You can see there is a lag in the current, right? With respect to this point, there is a lag in the current. Thereafter, discharge in the inductor and discharging, right? Similarly, if you see mode 3, which is from 270 degrees to 390 degrees, during this portion, you can see B phase voltage is more positive when compared to any other phases. So thyristor T3, which is associated with this B phase, will be in forward bias condition. So you can see here, whereas T1 and T2 they are in reverse bias condition. That is why T1 and T2 they are replaced with open circuit. Right now, to get control over this portion, we are going to trigger T3 at alpha equals 0 here, right? With respect to this point, it may be 300 degrees, but with respect to here, this point, it is 0 only, right? It will conduct and the current will leave the positive terminal like this, B positive, T3 anode, T3 cathode, and back to the load, neutral point like this. And here it is entering at this particular point. So I can consider this as a positive voltage, right? And the current, you can see there is a current waveform, wave shape like this. The current is lagging the voltage by some angle. Thereafter, it is charging the inductor. Thereafter, it will discharge like this, right? And the same cycle may repeat for remaining waves. Same thing you can see at alpha equal 30 here. Here from this point on, the output voltage follow the input voltage, and during this interval T1 it is in conduction state. You can see the current is lagging the voltage by some angle, charging and discharging, right? Similarly, here at this particular point, T2 is triggered, which is in forward bias condition, and it is following the output voltage like this. The current is lagging the voltage by some angle, thereafter charging and discharging. Similarly, so during this interval, T2 is in conduction state, and if you trigger T3 at this particular point, suddenly there is increment in the voltage which will follow the input voltage like this. And if you see the current is lagging the voltage by some angle, thereafter charging, discharge. So during this interval, T3 is in conduction state, then T1, then T2, then T3, and this cycle goes on repeating. Again, you can see there is no zero current in the output current, and due to some current in the load, you won't get any zero voltage. So it is called continuous conduction mode. Now let us assume I have applying triggering pulse to T1 during omega t equals 30 to 150 degrees at alpha equals 60 degrees. So it will start at alpha 60, matlab omega t should be 90 degrees. So you can see at omega t equals 90 degrees onward, the output voltage follow the input voltage like this, right? But due to presence of inductance in the load, the current has to lag the voltage by some angle. Thereafter, it charge the inductor and discharge, right? It may discharge here, it may discharge here, it may discharge here. That depends upon the value of inductor. Here I have assumed small value of inductor so that it is discharging here itself, right? Now, which means T1 will be carrying charging as well as discharging current from here to here. So it is in conduction state, which means the load is subjected to the input voltage. So it is following the output voltage, following the input voltage up to this point, right? Similarly, if I trigger T2, which is in forward bias condition, alpha equals 60 degrees, so it will start following the input voltage like this, right? And you can see the current is lagging the voltage by some angle, charging. Thereafter, it will discharge, right? So during the small portion, there is no current in the load. The inductor is completely dissipated its energy to the load resistance or back to the source, so that you can see zero current in the load here, right? If there is no current, there is no voltage. Similarly, you can trigger thyristor T2, T3, which is in forward bias current in this particular point. So from this particular point onwards, the output voltage follows the input voltage. You can see the current is lagging the voltage by some angle. Thereafter, is charging the inductor, and it is discharging like this. So you can say up to this point, T3 it is in conduction state. So now during the small portion, you can see the zero current is there. Due to the zero current, you will get zero voltage, right, during this small portion. So now this is called discontinuous conduction mode. It is called discontinuous conduction mode. Right. Now I'm going to derive the average output voltage expression for this waveform. Now I'm considering only continuous conduction mode. Again, still, if you can see here, if I, as you all know that this discharging may takes place here, it may takes place here, it may take place here. That depends upon the value of inductor. So now I have kept only small value of inductance, so that the discharging is taking place here itself, right? Suppose I want to go for continuous conduction, I need to kept a large value of inductance in the load, right? So that instead of discharging the current here, it may discharge here. Before discharging current completely, one more thyristor will be in conduction state, and that will carry the current. Now you can see here it is also at alpha equals 60 degrees. It is also at alpha equals 60 degrees, but here the inductance value is less, here the inductance value is more, so that you can get continuous conduction. So from this point on, the output voltage has to follow the input voltage, and it will conduct for a duration of 120 degrees. So you can see the current charging, and discharging, right? Here from this point onwards, I can trigger T2, which is in forward bias condition. So it is triggering, and we are going to see this voltage. Now the current is lagging the voltage by some angle, charging, thereafter discharge. Similarly, I can trigger T3 at this particular point, which is in forward bias condition. It will follow the input voltage like this, and will conduct for a one duration, and the output voltage, the output current, you can see this is the waveform is like this, where the output current is lagging the output voltage by some angle, right? So this is for continuous conduction. Similarly, you can see at alpha equal to 90 degrees, right? You can see the waveform, and you can observe one more thing here. At alpha equal to 90 degrees, you will get the average output voltage 0. Why? Because now area during this positive pulse will be equal to the area under this negative pulse. So if you take the average, that will become 0. Even we will see with the equation also, right? Let us derive the expression for the average output voltage. Now you can say each thyristor will has to conduct for a duration of 120 degrees. Now alpha should be more than right, 1 by 2 pi by 3, because for a complete one cycle we are going to expect 3 cycles at the output side. So I have written 2 pi by 3. Now alpha plus 32, alpha plus 150 degrees, Vm sin omega t d omega t, right? So because if alpha equals 0, it will be from 30 to 150 degrees. If alpha equals 60, it is 60 to 180 degrees. Like that, for any values of alpha, each thyristor has to conduct for a duration of 120 degrees for continuous conduction. For discontinuous conduction, it is not possible, right? So it is Vm sin omega t. Now I can take Vm out of the, I can take the Vm common. It is Vm by 2 pi by 3. Here you can see integration of sin omega t will be minus cos omega t, and you just substitute the upper limit or lower limit. You will get the expression for the average output voltage this much, 3 root 3 into Vm by 2 pi into cos alpha. Now you can observe one thing here, 3 points you can observe. At alpha equals 0, if you substitute alpha equals 0, you can see the maximum output voltage across the load, which is 3 root 3 by 2 pi into Vm, right? Now, if you substitute alpha equals 0, the second point, if substitute, sorry, if substitute alpha equal 90 degrees, cos 90, it will be 0, right? That's why I tell you at alpha equal 90 degrees, this area will be equal to this area. So average output voltage will become 0, right? Again, if you substitute alpha equal to 180 degrees here, it cos 180 is minus 1, you'll get minus negative max, right? Which is minus 3 root 3 by 2 pi into Vm, right? So this is about average output voltage. Now I can derive the RMS output voltage also, right? Same thing, but I need to take the root mean square. right? So you can write in here under root 1 by 2 pi by 3 integration from alpha plus 32 alpha plus 150 degrees Vm square sin square omega t d omega t. I can take Vm square after the root square will get cancelled. It is right Vm by under to 1 by 2 pi by 3 and the integration from alpha plus 32 alpha plus 150 degrees sin square omega t you can write it as 1 minus cos 2 omega t by 2, right? Do the separation and integrate it and substitute the upper and lower limit, you will get the RMS output voltage expression is this much. It is Vm under root 1 by 2 plus 3 root 3 by 8 pi into cos 2 alpha. So if you know the RMS output voltage, you can easily calculate the RMS output current. So this is about three-phase half-wave converter with R and RL load, both continuous conduction and discontinuous conduction operation. Thank you.